Hello, Oregon Labor. Wow. Thank you to the escort committee. Look at this. I echo what Graham said. You look beautiful. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. And I just want to thank Graham. Obviously, what a nice introduction. But for your leadership, because he's innovating, he's trying new things. Think about the record growth that we've had here in the state of Oregon. We recruited Graham actually now to be on our national state AFL-CIO and Central Labor Council Advisory Council nationally, and on our AI task force. So give it up for Graham. And Serena, dream team right here. Can I just say thank you? It's an unbeatable leadership team and an incredible staff, as we just all gave a standing ovation. I am so, so grateful to be here, because Oregon is the state, as Graham said, that everyone looks to. We want a dose of inspiration, we come to Oregon, right? So I just want to say how happy I'm here, happy I am to be here, because I'm outside of Washington, D.C. Thank you for that. But I also used to come to Seaside growing up in the 80s. I'm going to say it, in the 80s. You know, I drove the Strip. I had to drive it today when I came in, just for old time's sake. You know, finished Hood to Coast relays here over the years, ate at the Pig and Pancake, of course. But Seaside is like a time capsule. It's just so awesome to be here, and I'm so happy to be with all of you. Most of you know that I got my start at IBEW Local 125, Portland, Oregon. Travis Erie, thank you for your leadership, of course, and our IBW friends who are here. That's where I learned how to organize. That's where I learned what solidarity meant and how we show up for each other no matter what. And there's a lot that I want to talk about today. I feel like just the opportunity to be here with you, there's so much to say. There's so much listening that I want to do from all of you, and I'll be here most of the afternoon. But I want to talk about, of course, the state of play, what's happening in our country, and our path forward, because everybody's looking to the labor movement right now in this time. But I want to start with the word solidarity. I want to start with solidarity because it could not be more important than right now. And Graham talked about it, right? Unity and solidarity is our calling card in this moment. And earlier this year, I was back here in Oregon in January, walking a picket line with our ONA nurses at Providence, where thousands of workers stood strong in the single largest labor action in Oregon history. Yes, which I know the whole labor movement showed up to support them. That victory wouldn't have been possible without the support of the labor movement. And I guarantee you everyone remembers that one, but I guarantee you that the Providence executives remember that one. And I'm damn sure they hope that the memory doesn't fade anytime soon, because that strike was seminal. But what I remember so clearly isn't just, of course, the courageous workers who were on the front lines, our nurses, and so many who were taking the risk. It was actually who else showed up right beside them. That's what I remember, the physicians, the OBGYNs, the caregivers, who Providence tried so hard to turn against our nurses, right? They were saying, oh, hey, listen, you know, this strike is going to make your job tougher, so probably not stand with them, just make your life easier, right? Working people from all over Oregon, who Providence tried to say the same thing to. Oh, you know, nurses out in the parking lot means they're not going to be inside taking care of the patients. That's what they tried to do, right? That is the oldest trick in the book, to try to divide us. And so when we had that big rally in January in Portland, I couldn't tell you how moving it was to go around that room and talk to the doctors and talk to the midwives and, all the brothers and sisters and siblings who said, that's bullshit. I'm going to stand with my fellow workers. I'm going to be on that picket line as long as it takes. Their fight is my fight too. And that goes even beyond every custodian, every person in that hospital, every teacher, every power lineman, everyone across this labor movement stood strong. And so that was the very definition of solidarity. And that is what Oregon labor is all about. So give yourselves a hand. And what we saw in that Providence fight really does represent everything we are up against right now in this country. Whether it's a hospital executive, a corporate CEO, politician in Washington, D.C., they are out to divide us, plain and simple. They want to convince working people that we are each other's enemies, that we need to fight each other to land a good job or to find a home in a safe neighborhood, that only so many of us can live with dignity in this country. That is the entire game, isn't it? Making Starbucks baristas fight each other for their shifts or to make a living wage, while the CEO of Starbucks hands himself $98 million a year. How many espressos did he make? How many morning rushes did he go through in that corner office? That's right. They try to pit us against each other. They try to convince us that immigrants are the reason we can't afford a home, instead of the private equity firms who are buying up every unit in our housing stock and driving up prices. They know that every minute that we are arguing online about freaking Cracker Barrel's logo, that we're not talking about 16 million Americans who are about to lose their health coverage. It's a distraction, and it's by design. And I have been up and down this state since I was a kid, meeting people from every walk of life, every background of who lives here in this state. Democrats, Republicans, independents, and I'll tell you, my family's full of all of them. Oregon is a microcosm of this country. But what's clear across our differences is that we are not each other's enemy. We are not each other's enemy, no matter what political party you belong to, your immigration status, whether we're gay, straight, trans, black, white. We are all suffering under the same broken economic system. Yeah? Let's focus our attention to where it belongs. And I will say that more and more people are starting to see this. I don't know if when you're talking to your members, they're waking up to this idea, you know what? This economic system isn't working for me. And I will say, the more people I talk to, the more I don't see that division that they want to see, those corporate folk want to see. I see working people who could not be more united right now on the things that matter to us, right? Yeah. In fact, I'll ask you, have you met one person who says, yes, let's gut public services and our jobs to, the people who keep our water clean and protect our parks and make our food safe, to make sure that Jeff Bezos, the richest guy on the planet, can buy another yacht that he doesn't need? Haven't met one person who said that. Have you met even one person who said, okay, yeah, let's cancel these bipartisan clean energy projects, thousands of good union jobs, enough to power 1 million homes in Oregon, Yeah, let's cancel those at a moment where our electricity bills are going through the roof. Haven't met one person who would say that, right? So have we met anyone who says, yeah, it makes perfect sense to let ICE arrest firefighters while they're in the middle of fighting a fire? Yeah, that's, this just doesn't make common sense. It's just absolutely defying common sense. So all that to say, this is a make or break moment right now. If you think about what we're living through, you all are in a historic moment for the labor movement. It's a heavy responsibility, right, to be in this room right now. Because we're either going to continue on this path towards oligarchy, towards rewarding those who sit on piles of billions of dollars while most of this country lives paycheck to paycheck, or we're going to rally around a new vision for this country where we can reward the workers across this state that we know who make this state hum. We can actually reward those workers instead. What do you think of that vision that we can build? Because Fred Meyer is not making $9 billion every year without our workers stocking the shelves and cutting the meat. Our public schools are not inspiring the next generation of leaders without our educators and our school support staff who just want the resources to support their students. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I love my Ducks at the University of Oregon on those football Saturdays. Yeah. Half the room is like, I don't know about that. But the University of Oregon does not work without the student workers staffing the libraries and the dining halls and the dorms and the labs. And every single one of those examples, workers won something better because they fought for something better and they demanded what they deserve. And right now, working people across this country are waking up to that vision. They're waking up to the idea that our fight is not Republicans versus Democrats, it's workers versus billionaires. And they're waking up to the difference that a union can make in their lives. They see that it's better in a union. I saw some of the shirts around. And a few weeks ago, actually, we did a poll. We do this every year around Labor Day. A poll of workers in this country, asking them, okay, where do they stand? What's important to them? Who do they trust? Who do they not trust? And they told us they have lost trust in every institution in this country except one. You stole my punchline. It's the union, absolutely. If you look at every institution, whether it's our political parties, of course, are losing ground, Congress, our media, corporations, of course, the Supreme Court, they're all underwater and they're actually sinking lower every single year. But the only thing people do believe in, the only institution that's keeping that trust is the union movement. And that's because of you. That is the work that you do. Yeah, we're more popular than Taylor Swift. We're also more popular than chocolate ice cream, which is hard to do, by the way. And I would say that, you can like both, Taylor and chocolate ice cream, but unions are the ones. Every other institution's failing to deliver the change that people need. And so we have an opportunity, folks. What are we going to do with that? We're going to organize like never before. Are you ready to organize like never before? It's a trick question. And I'm so glad we have some good politicians that are actually fighting on our side as well, including the one that's going to follow me up here, which is Senator Ron Wyden. And as much as we love our supportive politicians, it's really not the politicians who are going to save this country. It's working people. And, it's not the Democrats that's going to save us, not the Republicans. It's working people who are going to save ourselves. Yes. So as Graham said, it's time to go big. It's time to do what this state federation has done so well and organize everywhere. We've never had this kind of opportunity. And with so many people really looking at those kitchen table issues, with, they're waking up every morning trying to make ends meet. Now they're seeing the union is the way to do this. So I want to thank Graham, and I want to thank Serena and everyone in this room, because you have become the center of gravity for organizing. The lessons that have come out of this state fed and all of you sitting around that organizing hub are being applied all over the country. We're taking it, we're bottling it, and we're spreading it around. And think about breaking into new spaces. How do we do that? Well, like the postdocs and the researchers in higher ed did. The new healthcare and childcare workers, the RAs at Reed, and our stage workers at Shakespeare Festival in Ashland. That's right. It's incredible to look at that momentum. And we know that when we organize, that is when we build our strength, and it bolsters everything we do. You couldn't get that legislation passed if you didn't have a strong base underneath you, right? So the way we fought for the UI for striking workers, that was a landmark bill. But you could not do that without the strength of this labor movement, with all of the members pulling together. So we need to have those basic protections, whether you're public sector, private sector, federal sector, the right to collectively bargain. Look at what has happened to the federal sector, folks. Federal union workers had their collective bargaining rights taken away with the stroke of a pen by this administration. That was the largest act of union busting in our history. A lot of people point back to the 80s and the air traffic controllers. This dwarfs that. And not a lot of people see it that way. And so we have to think about that. How does that cascade out across to the private sector? Because they're coming for the private sector. So now is the moment to say that old adage, an attack on one is an attack on all. An injury to one is an injury to all. Can we stand up in support of each other, especially in the federal workforce? Because we are fighting right now. Does anyone know about the legislation? The Protect America's Workforce Act. Anyone heard of it? HR 2550. Anyone heard of it? I hope so. It's a trick question. Everyone should know this bill. We have bipartisan support for this bill, and this would restore collective bargaining for federal workers. This should be everyone's fight. So spread the word, because we have a good Oregon delegation that's helping us out with that. We're getting a discharge petition filed in the Congress so we can force a vote on it, because if they've come for federal workers, they're coming for everybody next. And while we're fighting back against the attacks on collective bargaining, we have to battle a whole new frontier ahead. And Graham and others have mentioned it. AI. 2 letters that we know. Our AI automation technology is hovering over all of our jobs. We know a lot of people like to paint labor as sort of anti-tech. Oh, we want to bury our heads in the sand. That is absolutely not it. We don't fight innovation. We've been doing this since our inception. But we're just anti-greed, right? We're not anti-tech. We're not anti-innovation. We're anti-greed. So we're against hospitals training robots on our work and throwing it in front of a patient and calling it a nurse, right? Just so they can save some money. So we know that fight is our fight. And a lot of people are saying this would be NAFTA 2.0. It would be like the biggest loss of jobs that we're going to see probably ever. But the way we fight back is together. We put guardrails, we put safety protections. We make sure that workers have a seat at the table, right? That AI works for working people, not the other way around. What do you think of that? And you know, the tech companies basically own Washington, D.C. right now. They have all the lobbying power and all the money. And they tried in that big, ugly bill or beautiful bill, whatever it was, to slip in a provision that you couldn't put any guardrails around artificial intelligence for 10 years. They thought they would just slip that right through, that nobody would notice. Well, guess what? The labor movement noticed. And y'all mobilized, and you were able to pressure the congressional representatives. And when it reached the Senate floor for a vote, guess what the vote was? 99-1 against it. We never thought that was possible. But you did that. You mobilized, and we were able to face down the big tech companies and give them the middle finger. That's right. The reason I tell that story is because there is a lesson in that win. The same lesson that so many of us see out there when we're organizing or on strike or in our work every day. And what is that lesson? The power of collective action. The power of our labor movement when we stand united. Nothing can stop us when we stand united and join together. So this is the moment. This is the moment for us to tell our story, to talk about what our movement stands for, because people are listening. They're looking to you for the answers, for the solution and that path forward. And we heard it this morning, freedom, fairness, and security. And that's what we stand for in this labor movement. When I say freedom, what do I mean? I mean the freedom to organize a union and bargain collectively and have control over our own lives. That's right. The way nurses did it at Mount Hood recently, when they fought so hard over the past 2 years for that contract, let me tell you, 15 million union members of the AFL-CIO have your back. And when I talk about fairness, I mean the fairness to get our share of the billions of dollars in wealth that we are creating, like our machinists at Boeing did last fall, 38% wage increase. Yeah, over 4 years, amazing. And when I talk about security, I mean the security to wake up every morning knowing that you have the chance to work hard, provide for your family, which our immigrant farm workers are fighting to do every day, to know that you can wake up, do your job, and return home safely at the end of your shift or at the end of your day, and earn enough money to support your family in between and maybe retire someday, right? So freedom, fairness, and security, there's a hashtag in there, FFS. For F's sake, those three things are not too much to demand. And here in Oregon and all over the country, we just came off the biggest Labor Day that we've seen. 1,000 events, hundreds of thousands of working people coming together saying we are going to fight for freedom, fairness, and security, and the things that all working people deserve. And the single most important thing we can do in this moment, and I'll leave you with this. The reason I wanted to be here is because that word solidarity. That word solidarity, we have to keep building it across our membership and across our unions. It's not enough to just think about our own union. Of course, that's the job you do every day. But we have to show up for each other across the labor movement. So keep finding ways to build that trust. I know it's hard to go deep on the issues and find common ground in this moment when we see a lot of division out there. But the most impactful thing we can do right now is keep building that trust with our members, keep showing up for each other. Are you all ready to show up for each other? Are you all ready to keep building this movement? Are you all ready to grow and organize? Thank you, Oregon Labor.